Where were we in the last class?
We finished SVM.
Yes. Yes, Pratik.
So I said we finished SVM.
Yeah, so we finished SVM and then we discussed that we'll start with this churn, customer churn, telecom customer churn, right?
Yes, sir.
And then we discussed, right? Number of you had done the exploratory data analysis, and some of you have not done that exploratory data analysis. So I had shared the codes, right? Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. So so you can at least say yes, no, yes, Parth.
Yes, sir, I have done the analysis of
Right.
churn
Okay.
data.
Exploratory data analysis. So, and we discuss how the steps are more or less almost similar when we are talking about cross-sell modeling and when we are talking about customer churn modeling. Um, the variables would change in the data set, right? Both your dependent, independent. However, the entire approach, the step-by-step approach of building a predictive model, right, more or less remains the same for so for any classification machine learning problem. So customer churn is also a classification machine learning problem, supervised machine learning problem. Cross sell is also a classification uh, machine learning problem. Now, apart from marketing, right, in finance domain, one of the most important problem is predicting the loan default and credit risk. That also is classification supervised machine learning model. So you can exactly take the same approach. In HR, let us say whether the employee is leaving or not. So employee attrition. So predicting whether the employee will leave the organization or not. Again, exactly the same approach to building a super classification supervised machine learning model, right? So now the difference in this data set as compared to the other data set is one was there are some missing value, and we started that discussion as to how does one handle missing value in the data set. All right, so what did we discuss? The code for identifying what happens when you run, let us say you try to calculate mean and some other values when there are missing values in the data set,
Not available.
right? So you don't get the output. Okay, so and in which variable there are missing values?
Total charges.
Right, so in total charges there is missing value. So let us so in total charges you have missing value. I have shared the screen. No.
No, sir.
Okay. So let us say you are trying to calculate the mean for mean total charges. Right? So the name that we have changed the data set to is data set, and then total charges. So you run this command and you get an error, right? Now, when you add just um, when you add na.rm equal to true, let us view the data set. Total charges. There are very less missing values, but anyways. So if you view the data set, the missing value in R, let us say this value is a missing value. So in R, it would be represented by NA. So you will see NA if this is the missing value in the data set. Okay, so what we are telling, right? So all the NA values, what we need to tell are, okay, all the NA values that are there in this particular variable, those are missing values. So we are saying those are missing values. Okay, so in that case, while calculating mean, it will consider that as missing value and then give you the output as mean. Okay, so run this command and now see whether you are getting the output or not.
Sir, we also have to install package na.tools, right?
Yes, if you are getting an error. So na.tools is part of, yeah, I have not got
Sir,
error.
actually, we have already prepared that, right? That was an assignment for us.
Which one?
So the customer churn for telecom.
Ha. So EDA till EDA was the assignment. Okay. Now number of students reached out to me to understand the process of missing values, right? So that I will discuss, and then we will move to model building using the 4 machine learning algorithms that we have learned in the cross-sell model.
Okay, sir. Actually, we reached till the model. So okay,
Ha. Right.
okay.
Yeah. So you have also calculated the mean imputation also.
Yes, sir.
So though I have shared that code in the last class, but I would still prefer explaining that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Sure,
then
sir.
I'll spend 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will move to the model building exercise.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now how to impute that missing value? We have understood, let us say, we have 3 options as we discussed. One is just dropping the observations, the NA values. The second is mean imputation. Okay, and so the command for imputing the missing value, right? In this, what you are doing in this particular variable, all right, you are asking which are the missing values. So whatever values which are missing in this particular variable, right? So this rectangular bracket we have discussed specifies the missing values, where these missing values are located. So you are saying identify this missing value, okay, and replace that missing value with the mean value. So first we calculate the mean. Okay, so the mean is this. Now you have the option of now just tell me, is there a difference between these two commands?
No, sir.
Why?
So it will give the same result.
Right. So what we are doing, rather than giving this as a command code, inputting this value implies this command implies this value. So we have option of both writing this command or just giving that value and replace that value, missing value, with that particular value, right? So this is how you impute missing values. Right now, let us say if this, rather than this being continuous variable, this was a categorical variable. Categorical variable, let us say partner, right? Yes or no, this value is missing. Now in that case, this remains the same, and then here you give the mode as an input. Okay, and we will right, so you give that as an input but in double quotes, and it will replace the missing value in the categorical variable, though we don't have missing value in the categorical variable. Is that clear to everyone? How to handle missing values?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Now how many variables we have? So now we move to the model building exercise. How many variables we have in the data set? Yes, quickly. Hello. Hello.
Sir, 21 including customer ID.
Right. So and the predictor variable and the dependent variable. How many predictor variable we have?
So 19.
19. Okay. And the outcome variable is what?
Churn, sir.
Churn. So and churn is taking which values?
Yes, no.
Yes, no. So just
So
run
yes
the
or
yeah, just run the table command and tell me the distribution in yes, no.
Point 0.73 and 0.26.
Right. 0.70 and
0.73 and 0.26.
okay. Right. So there will be further decimal points, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if you look at the output dependent variable or your target variable, okay, it takes the value of yes, no. Now, before actually building the model, we also need to convert that value into 1, 0. right? So we will use, right, there are multiple ways to do that, but we will use if else function, just the way we did in the while we had probability values, and then for particular probability we assigned value 1, and apart from that the other values we assigned value 0. Okay, now just what is the factor type of this churn variable? Yes.
So two levels are there.
Right. So, but what is the data type? Is it character or factor that you are getting?
So character, right?
Character. तो आपने वो change नहीं किया है फिर उसको.
Sir, factor, sir.
Who is getting character? हाँ जी. See, I will again post the exploratory data analysis code. Okay. You need to create the project, import the data set, and run these commands. What I have posted in the chat box.
Yes, sir. No, it was factors, sir. Actually, I did not see that.
Okay, okay, never mind. Yeah. Right, so what we are doing, now this is a factor variable, the churn in the data set. We are using if else function. Okay, and if else function for which variable? Data set churn. We are saying if there are s values in this particular variable, replace that with 1. Now remember, this 1 is a factor, not a numeric variable, and that is why we are including it in double quotes. Else the other values, which is no, okay, we have only two values, yes or no, then the no values, replace that with 0. So run the command and view the data set.
Sir, hello.
Yes, yes.
Sir, if we replace yes with 1 and no with 0,
Hmm.
and we are keeping it in bracket, we are making them character, right? Although that the
Factor.
column was first we declare that column as a factor,
Hmm.
but after that we are including 1 and 0. It would be
Let us see. So this is a character now, right? We coerce that to factor variable. Is that fine, Pratik? We still again have to.
yes, sir. That's
If
what actually I was asking,
yes,
sir.
yeah, yeah. So this is
Sir,
that yes.
so can we in the initial stage only we can convert yes and no to like we can convert yes and no into 1 and 0, and that when we convert all the character into factor, when we declare all the character variables as a factor,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah,
in
that is, yeah, yeah. So see, Pratik, that very well we can do right in the initial stages. But again, if you follow the steps of building the model, machine learning model building exercise, right? Just to understand, just to make you understand why we are doing this. Okay. I am doing this just before the model building exercise. अगर ये हमने पहले ही किया होता, right, many of you would not have followed ki why we are doing this at that stage and not this
Yes,
stage,
sir. Got it, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, and this is not the only way. There are many ways, right, of converting this yes no into 1 0, right? There are other ways as well, but this is the very simplest way. Use an if else function in any context. This simple function if else, right? And when you have only two possible variables, you can use this and it gives you the value. Later, you can also use this, we use this command for replacement, right? But this sometimes creates problems for categorical variables when we are doing this. So that is the reason why we are using if else function. Okay.
Sir, one more question.
Yes.
Sir, like the customer ID which we were given was string, right?
Yes. It is alphanumeric number. I
Yes,
will come
sir.
to that. I will come to that, right?
Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. Right. So then, since this is a character variable, okay, what we need to do, then we need to coerce that variable and make it a factor variable by using as dot factor. So just run this command to convert this variable into a factor variable. And then probably you can just to cross verify the yes node, what the yes node distribution was earlier, right? And now you have replaced that with okay. All right. Yeah. So just to cross verify, this proportion is same when it was yes, no. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Right. So, right, just to cross verify, jo humne whatever changes that we have made, whether we are getting the same results or not, we are just checking that proportion, right? So now we have the data set ready for analyzing bivariate relationship, analyzing or probably building machine learning model as well, right? So then what is the next step? What is the next step? Right, we split the data into train data and test data. We build the model on
Data
train.
visualization.
Uh-huh.
Data visualization, like uh, checking normality.
So that we have, so that is the reason. See, I was planning to discuss that, but then you told we have done that EDA.
Yes, sir, I have. Sir, I thought that you said you asked after this only.
Nahin, so what I am saying, our data is ready. Okay. Now, all the data analysis, normality, descriptive analysis, all those things we have done. We have also converted our target variable, right? So the next stage that we do is split the data into train data and test data. Right? So what is the command for splitting the data into train data and test data? Now you have to tell me, can you use the same command, the command that you used in cross-cell model? This was the command. This is, I'm presenting the earlier codes. This was the command. Now tell me, can we use the same command for splitting the data into train data and test data?
Yes, sir, we can use the same command.
Right? So as it, because the data name in this project of the data set is data set. In that project also, the name of the data set is data set, right? Now we want to create train and test data set in that particular project, churn project, right? So the same terminologies we will use. So in that case, you can just copy and paste this command there, and it will create the train data and test data. Now the question for you is, would you like to split the sample in the same proportion? If you would like to split the sample in the same proportion, which is 70% and 30%, then this value also remains the same. Now let us say you want to split into 80-20, 75-25, 60-40, then accordingly the numbers will change here. I hope there is a clarity on this. And the point I am trying to make is, if you have built one particular project, almost 60 to 70% of the code you can reuse and recycle. Do you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah. So as you practice and practice, this is how simpler it starts looking. But you need to practice and practice and practice. Okay. So I'm doing the same thing. I have done the same thing. I have copied those commands here. Okay. I'm keeping the same terminology. I'm keeping the same proportion, right? And I am running these commands. Right. So in this project also, what we have train data and test data. So let us view the train data. right? So we have the same variables, and we have changed the yes, no to 0, 1. Similarly, test data, we have changed it to 0, 1. Okay, now let us quickly look at the structure of the train data and as well as the test data. Right, so in this we have 4,950 observations in the train data. In the test data, we have 2,093 observations. Is the proportion consistent? Just quickly calculate.
Sir,
Right?
near
So
about it's consistent.
right, so near more approximately it would be more or less same.
73%, sir.
Right, you
73,
can
26.
yes, so you can calculate. Again, I am using the same command which I have used here in the earlier project. Now what is changing here? Tell me what has changed here. जो रेगुलर वाले नहीं बोलोगे, जो अभी I'll randomly pick up on it. Robin, you are there? Robin? Yes, Arun. Arun is there? Yeah. Tanish, you're there? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, yes, Parth, tell me, so how will that command change?
Um, so I guess it will change y to 0
And it will become what? We are
so
looking
1.
at, so we are looking at the proportion of distribution of which variable?
Sir, turn.
Right. So we are looking at the proportion of distribution of the dependent variable, and in this context, it is churn. Right, Parth?
Yes, sir.
Right. Right. So now see, when we have too many variables, before building model, okay, it is also a good idea to also look at bivariate relationship before actually going into model building exercise. Now bivariate relationship could be, right, so it is the relationship between two variables, continuous, okay, then continuous categorical, this would be independent, this would be dependent, so to say, categorical continuous and categorical. Now you have to tell me, how do we test these kind of relationship? So if we want to see whether there is relationship between two continuous variable, what do we do? Yes.
So regression.
So, yeah. So regression is, yeah, you can do regression. What else? What else? Would you also like to look at correlation?
Yes, sir. We can start with looking at correlations.
Right. So this is one. Now this continues to categorical. Haji. Yes. See, I'll tell you if
So logarithm.
right, yeah, you can probably logistic regression. Okay. Now I'll just, since the placement season is going on, if you build and explain these three projects that we are discussing. One is this churn, the another is cross sell, and the third that I am going to discuss is the unsupervised machine learning algorithm using RFM data. I'll promise, if you from end to end, if you can build these algo models on your own and explain the entire mechanism, right? I assure you, nobody can stop you getting an analytics role with a very significant package, right? But you need to take this seriously, revise your statistics concept, understand what we are doing here. Okay, so now, so here you can test this relationship using logistic regression. You can also test this relation using what? Yes. ANOVA, can you do that? Haji. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Then categorical to continuous. Right, here also with regression you can look at the bivariate relationship. What about categorical variable? Yes, Pratik.
Sir, I guess
Yes, sir.
logistic regression.
Yeah, logistic regression, it is possible. What else? What else? Can we say cross tabulation? Chi-square difference test? Haji. Pratik?
Yes, sir. So no idea.
Okay, right.
Sir,
So
firstly revise.
क्या
Sir, first you will basics revise.
Sir,
ये
logistic,
सी
sir,
ये जो
logistic and
ये
regression with
टेबल,
cross
यस
tabulation,
प्रतीक,
thoda.
ये जो टेबल मैं बता रहा हूं ना, this is mother of everything. If you don't know this, you you will stop at see, when I tell you, okay, churn up, this is how you do it. Now suddenly I give you a different problem, then you need to have a clarity on this, right? So this clarity tells you how do you move ahead suddenly when you get a new business problem, right? So if you know this, right, you quickly know, okay, this is my problem, this is how I will handle this, and this is how I will proceed. Okay, now let's look this from the point of view of our data set. Now our data set dependent variable is categorical. Do we have continuous variable in the data set?
Sir, 2 or 3.
Three we
Total
have,
charge.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Three we have: total charges, monthly charges, and tenure.
Yeah.
right? And then we have categorical data. Now we want to look bivariate, understand bivariate relationship. Here we can do logistic regression, we can do also ANOVA, right? Logistic regression and see the individual relationship between tenure and churn. See individual relationship between total charges and churn, monthly charges and churn. Okay. Now let us say you would like to understand the relationship between gender and churn. So gender is categorical, this is categorical. Gender, you have two outcomes. Here you have two outcomes. So you can cross tabulate and calculate the chi-square difference test and see whether that is significant or not. So that will tell you whether there is a relationship between gender and churn. That will tell you the relationship between whether the customer is senior citizen or not. So you know, okay, males are probably churning more as compared to female. You know, senior citizen are churning or less churning as compared to younger citizen or younger customer. Partner and not partner, whether they are married or not married. Okay, married customers have less chances of churning as compared to unmarried customer, right? So then let us look at one, or I'll discuss one or two example, okay, and then probably then you just need to repeat this exercise for other variables and understand the relationship. Okay, so what we will do,
So,
yes.
so we can prepare a matrix. You are saying that we can prepare a matrix like confusion matrix between different elements into different categorical variables.
Yes, yes. So only thing is, Pratik, the terminology is not confusion matrix, but cross tabulation. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right. So we will do cross tabulation, which means here we will have gender, let us say male and female, and churn, yes or no. Right. Now, see, you will find, okay, here the number is high. Probably here the number is high. Right. But then you also need to do a statistical test to understand whether the relationship is significant or not, and that statistical test is your chi-square test. Okay, so we will do both, we will calculate both the aspects. Okay, now first we will, and how do we visualize that relationship? On x-axis, let us say this is 1 or 0. This is churn, and then you have frequency or count of what, let us say gender. So this could be male and this could be so this is how you can visualize this relationship, right? So this is what we would like to do in R as well, right? So we will use the function bar plot, right, to visualize the frequency distribution in the data set. Okay, now this bar plot, okay, it takes the matrix or 2 by 2 matrix as an input, and that is why we first tabulate this gender variable and churn, and we are assigning that value, and this is just a name, and this. So I'll just run this command. Okay, so these values we are giving here as an input. We have assigned this value to this particular matrix name. Okay, and then we are giving that as an input to this particular command. All right, so type this command first. So we are looking at the frequency distribution of gender when compared to churn. So run this and just post this. How many of you are doing this with me? Yes, others, please post message in the chat box. Yes. Right. So we are using bar plot. This is function. Just the way we did it while we plotted histogram, we plotted box plot. This is bar plot. This is the input. The values it will take from this command, this particular table as an input. This is the name we are giving to the plot. On x-axis, churn. Okay, and then we are giving the vector of the color. What kind of color we want here for those bars, count, and we want the bars besides, right? So I'll run the command. And you get a graph like this. Now tell me, what is your interpretation here? Yes.
So there is not a significant difference in, like.
Right. Yeah, with respect to churn, the proportion of customers who are churning. With respect to gender, the proportion of customers who are churning and the proportion of customers who are not churning, they're more or less same. So probably there is no relationship of gender with churn. Is that fine? So then we also see the statistical relationship, and we need to do cross tab, right? We can do
And I'm
that.
getting error. Bar plot.
Just show me your command.
Sir, I will post it.
Post the command, Pratik.
So posted it.
Okay. The churn. Okay. अरे इतना लंबा कर दिया. वो पहला वाला कमांड भी देना था, काउंट वाला.
Sorry sir, warning message है.
Okay. Yeah.
So the warning message is okay, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Warning message is fine.
Okay.
Now, we also need to test the relationship, statistical relationship. For cross tabulation, the package that is required is G models. Okay, so install the package. Now, after you have installed the package, the command for cross tabulation, okay, is this. Now remember, this T is capital T here. I'm just posting this command in the chat box. And then you can also look at the chi-square value. Run these two commands and tell me the output. And tell me the relationship. Aji. Yes, Harsh, Pratik. Parth.
Sir, chi-square is 1.35.
Is it significant or not? What is the p-value?
0.24. Sir, it doesn't look significant.
Doesn't look, so you have to be confident. It is not significant, right? The
Yes, sir, it
p-value
is
is
not
not
significant.
less than 0.05. The p-value is 0.24. So we conclude there is no relationship, statistical relationship between gender and churn. Right? Similarly, you will do this analysis for all the other 16 to 17 variables. Okay? So I am just copying the code here for other variables as well. Now run these commands. Now based on the analysis, okay, so gender, phone service, these two variables are insignificant. So while you build your machine learning model, probably you can drop these two variables, right, in the initial stage itself. Now just quickly run logistic regression, and you know the command logistic regression between what is total charges, monthly charges, and tenure with churn, and tell me whether the relationship is significant or not between these three variables. Individually you will run. Right? So what I am doing, monthly charges, and total charges. And then I'm also looking at tenure. Here I have not done for tenure. So is tenure, does tenure have significant relationship with churn? Yes.
Sir, why didn't we put like data set dollar tenure like that?
Data set.
Like data set, then dollar monthly charges.
In this formula
like
you are
trading.
telling, Harsh, in this
Yes,
formula you are telling.
yes, sir.
So if you recall the other commands also, we are giving this as an input. Data equal to train. So this is our data set. So when we give this variable name, it takes variables from this data set.
Okay, sir.
Harsh, are you clear on this?
सर वो टेन्योर
Yes, sir.
नीचे
Sir, I
चाहिए
was
ना
confused
समरी.
on the
One at a time.
sir,
Yes.
beginning part. So beginning part में हमने सिर्फ tenure लिखा है. Like the
ये बोल
first
रहे हो, ये बोल रहे हो.
word. वहाँ पे मुझे yes, sir.
ये सिर्फ नाम है, हर्ष. This is just the name of the model. You can give A also here.
Okay, okay, sir. Yes.
This can be A also, right?
Yeah,
And
so
this
you
is
defined. हाँ, सर आपने वेरिएबल ले लिया, मुझे लगा आप वो कॉल कर रहे थे.
नहीं, right? हाँ, प्रतीक, you were telling something.
सर वो समरी टेन्योर सर मेरे इसमें आ ही नहीं रहा है पहला तो.
वो कैपिटल S हुआ होगा.
नो सर समर सर स्मॉल एस है. एरर इन टेन्योर, ऑब्जेक्ट टेन्योर नॉट फाउंड.
हाँ, तो आपने यहाँ पे what name you have given to the model?
सर नहीं, ऊपर वाला सर, नीचे वाला कमांड नहीं.
You post the command in the chat box.
सर एक्चुअली जो है ना सर, सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ कंटिन्यूअस वेरिएबल विद चर्न, उसके बाद टोटल चार्जेस है, फिर समरी टेन्योर है. तो सर वो समरी टेन्योर तो रन नहीं होगा ना, उसके बाद का टेन्योर होगा रन.
What command, Pratik, what command you are running? Just post it in the chat box. नहीं, the entire your logistic regression वाला command also.
सर एक्चुअली ये जो सेकंड है ना समरी टेन्योर, ये सर रन नहीं हुआ अभी. सर मैं लॉजिस्टिक वाला बना रहा हूँ ऊपर का रन करने के लिए, वो तो सर टेन्योर बनेगा अभी.
Let us not confuse ourselves. So जब tenure ही नहीं बना तो how can you get summary?
सर फर्स्ट, सर एक मिनट, आपका सर वो मॉडल है ना, उस पे जाना एक बार.
कौन सा वाला?
सर आपके क्रॉस
ये वाला,
कस्टमर
ये...
चैट पे.
हाँ.
सर उसमें सर आपने सबसे ऊपर, एक्चुअली सर ऊपर में एक था ना टेन्योर का अलग लिखा था, समरी टेन्योर.
नहीं वो अभी वो मैं कुछ ऑपरेशंस कर रहा होगा और मैंने वहां वो रख दिया उसको. ठीक है.
ओके सर, उसी वही था सर, वही कंफ्यूजन था.
Don't get confused. What we are doing, we are trying to understand the relationship between churn and tenure. Tenure is a continuous variable, churn is a categorical variable. So we will run logistic regression. That is why we have taken family equal to binomial. We are using GLM, which is generalized linear model. So we have to build this model to understand whether the relationship is significant or not. So we have to first run that model to look at the summary of the model. Is that fine,
Yes, sir.
Prateek?
Yes, sir.
Right?
So tenure
Yes.
is significant, I guess.
Yes. So tenure is significant. And what is the relationship? If we have to see here, look at the estimate and look at the sign. What does that imply?
So negative relationship.
Right? So as the tenure increases, the customer, right? Let us say if you have been with a bank for 10 years, or you have been an Airtel customer for 10 years, there are very less likely chance that you will port out or you will churn. Right? This is what probably this is implying to us. Similarly, you will do this analysis for total charges and monthly charges. I'm posting that command here. And both monthly charges as well as total charges are significant. So now you have to tell me we have dropped gender and what else? और क्या ड्रॉप किया हमने?
Phone service.
Phone service, right? So we dropped these two variables. Now, then probably we might as well choose to drop those variables when we are building our machine learning model. Right? Now again, if you go back to the earlier, this is just a name of the model. If you go back to the earlier cross-sell model, we are using the same command. Now the only difference here, right? And so rather than taking the entire data set or entire variables in the data set, what we are doing, we have dropped the two variables which are not significant with the dependent variable, and other variables we are taking into the model. Now this is just for an understanding purpose. Rather than taking this entire model, okay, you would like to take all the variables. Okay, this is what you would like to run. Just try, though I don't want you guys to run because आपका system hang हो जाएगा. If you run this command, okay, just see whether you are able to run this command.
Yes, sir.
The command is running.
Yes.
सर जिन्होंने कस्टमर आईडी चेंज किया होगा उनका रन हुआ होगा.
हाँ. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Okay. Right. So you are able to run the run this command. Hello.
Yes, sir.
So tell me what has happened. You're able to run that command successfully.
Yes, sir.
See what happens. Let us look at str train.
Sir, are you sharing the screen?
Okay. So you were able to run the command. Hello.
No, sir.
What has happened?
So just read warning
Wo
sign out about the tab.
warning
Stop.
sign or the system will hang. Okay. And I'll tell you the reason why the system will hang. Okay.
सर आपने सेव
Now
करने को बोलना चाहिए था सर बच्चों को.
क्या सेव नहीं किया हुआ था?
सर मेरा तो है, बाकियों
मैं
का.
इसीलिए हाँ
सर जिनके हैंग
हेलो
हो जाएंगे उनके.
हाँ वो तो मेरा भी मैं भी आप रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं कर रहे थे तो मैंने वो रन कर दिया था. एनीवेज आई विल शेयर द कोड अभी इमीडिएटली. मेरा भी now just let me tell you the reason why this happens. The data set can you look at this customer ID and the values that this particular data set is taking?
Yes, sir.
Hello. So what is the data type here? Hello. Okay, so the variable that the values that here customer ID is taking is alphanumeric. Now R does not know, right? This is like a customer ID variable. So it treats this variable as a regular variable. Okay. Now when when we are modeling and taking all the variables in the data set, R will consider this as a character or a factor variable. Now, if you have 7,000 respondents, then R will have to consider that as 7,043 factors in that particular variable, and then it goes into a loop of calculation, and that's why it hangs. Now, one way to handle this is change your alphanumeric data into just a numeric number. Okay. The other way is to drop this column from your data. Is that fine? Now, how do you drop a column from a data set? The command for that is, now let us say you would like to drop customer ID. customer ID. From which data set? Data set. And the command for that is NUL. This will drop this particular variable from the data set. This will drop this particular column from the data set. Is that clear? One is you drop the column from the data set. Another is replace that alphanumeric value with just a numeric value, respondent ID. Is that clear to everyone? Hello?
Yes, sir.
People probably, students who have lost the command, I'm pasting the command in the chat box. Okay, now let's move to building our machine learning model. Now again, this has started becoming repetitive in nature now. So this is just a name, logistic regression, logistic churn model. We are using generalized linear model, GLM. Within bracket, we are giving formula, right? So our dependent variable is churn. In cross sell, our dependent variable was Y. So we have replaced Y with churn. Now we didn't want to take gender. We didn't want to take the second variable was phone line something, right? All other variables we would like to include. Now we are typing all the other variables in our model. Now other thing, data equal to train remains the same. Family equal to binomial remains the same. So the only change we have made here is the variables, because our context is different, business problem is different, and we have dropped two variables from our analysis.
Actually, sir, I guess we dropped more variables, sir. There is no
We
senior
can,
citizen.
yes.
There is no senior citizen.
There is no senior citizen.
Partner.
Okay, I'll just check from the above whether it was insignificant or not. Achha, I have not included that or what. Yeah, so yeah, we have to include senior citizens. So that is, there is a significant relationship. Let us look at the visualization. Right. So there is some difference. So we'll take that also.
Also, sir, partner, sir. We
Partner
noted
is
it as.
there.
Oh, yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Now, after taking too many variables, okay, what happens when we have more number of variables?
Sir, the model can overfit also.
Yes, the model can overfit, and probably let us say this online backup and device protection. If these two variables are highly related with each other, they will be, and then they are also explaining the dependent variable, then probably in that case, when we take these two variables simultaneously in our model, then one of the variables, so because of that in continuous variable we called as correlation, right? So then further what we do, we look at which variables are significant and which variables are not significant, and then we drop those variables and then further reduce the number of variables in our model, right? So is that fine? So run this command, and after running this command, you tell me which variables are significant and which variables we need to drop.
Sir, I did not get it. How we are removing the multicollinearity?
We are not, see, we are not, in the sense what we are doing here, after taking, see, there are other multiple steps also before doing this, right? We can actually look at the, what we looked, cross tabulation between dependent variable and independent variable, okay? The another way to handle this is look at the cross tabulation between the dependent variable itself. For continuous variable, we look at correlation matrix, okay? But for categorical variable, again, we have to do that individually, right? So that is also one way to look at, avoid that multicollinearity. However, what we are doing, we are directly running the model, and after the model, whatever variables that we are getting insignificant, we will drop those variables.
Okay, sir.
Right. Now tell me which variables are significant. So
Senior citizen.
from all the variables that are there, which variables are significant now? So which variables we have to drop? You will look at the p value here, just the way we were looking earlier. So the variables which are significant are dependence, multiple lines, internet service, streaming TV, contract, paperless billing, payment method, tenure, and total charges. So monthly charges is not significant. So these variables we will take. Okay. This was the first model. Now the second model, I'll change this name, logistic regression second model. So we have dropped those variables. I'm posting the command in the chat box. Right, you can, now when you are practicing, you can look at this, right? See whether we have correctly dropped those variables or not. Then we are using predict function. We are using logistic churn 2 as a model for the test data set, and we will calculate the value. We can look at these values that we have calculated. Right, so these are the values that we are getting here. We use if-else function. This is the probability that we are getting. We use if-else function. We take cutoff as 0.5. This is the name. use if else function, tabulate the values. Again, see this, we are just repeating the codes. We are not doing anything new, right? Here, this is the name that we have given for churn prediction. Now we are using the same command here. I am keeping the same names. Okay. The only thing here is the model has changed. Using this model for this particular data set, it is calculating the churn for us. Then again here, I am using the same command which we used in the earlier example. The only thing is I am changing the variable names and the model, and so here in earlier example it was logistic prediction, here it is churn prediction. Earlier example it was cross sell, whether the customer has accepted term deposit or not. Here in this case whether the customer is leaving or not. So the same code, just we are changing the variable name. You run the command, okay, you get the prediction values whether the customer is churning or not, and you calculate the accuracy. For this particular model, our accuracy is around 80.3%. Right? So similarly, you will do this for you will do this for the other three algorithms that we learned: the decision tree algorithm, the random forest, and the support vector machines. I am just copying the command, okay, and then we will quickly, if you are facing any problem, we will discuss this in the class. And again, I am repeating this. We are just recycling and reusing the code, changing the name, and we have to look at the results and look at the output and interpret that output. Yes. Now again, just the way I have told you, you can incorporate this as a project in your CV for a cross-sell targeted marketing campaign for cross-sell, predicting the acceptance of term deposit using R. The same thing, right? You can add this as a second project, right? Predicting churn of telecom customers, okay? Using, predicting churn of telecom customers, machine learning, application of machine learning using R. So you can add this as a second project in your CV. However, again, I am repeating, when you claim this, the interviewer will scrutinize each and every step of this, what we have repeated. Probably he will ask you questions about code. Probably he will ask you about what are the problems that one faces. Probably he will ask you how one evaluates the model, classification model or a regression model. Right? So you run this command, and then in the next class for 5 to 10 minutes we will discuss this, and then we will start the third project, which is unsupervised machine learning using an RFM data. I will email that, and I will also expect you guys to do the exploratory data analysis so that we don't spend time or doing exploratory data analysis. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Right. So you have any questions? So should I stop the class?
Sir, sir, I
Yes.
was in the process of HCL, so I joined late, sir.
You were in the process of?
HCL, sir.
Okay. So what's your name?
Sir, Abhishek, 19053.
How
Sir,
was
Animesh as well, sir.
क्या पूछा HCL वालों ने? What did they
सर
ask?
IT मार्केटिंग क्या होता है?
IT marketing.
सर बहुत बेसिक इंटरव्यू था.
अच्छा, तो ये फर्स्ट राउंड था क्या?
मोस्ट प्रोबेबली सर.
Okay. What about others?
सर रोल नंबर 11.
Roll number 11. What is your name?
सर Animesh.
Okay, I have marked you present.
Sir,
Hello,
Harshit.
sir.
Yes.
Sir, few other people have written in the text chat box, sir, regarding their attendance. Pradeep and Costa, few other members are there, sir. If you can check those names.
Kaustubh, I have marked present. I think he responded.
Yes, sir. Pradeep
Pradeep
Yadav,
also
Deepak.
I have marked present. Deepak, I have marked him present.
Sir, Harshit also.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, so I'm closing the class.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.